Is it time to end birthright citizenship for the children of illegal aliens? Good morning, Boston. Okay, my friends, President Trump yesterday now threw down the gauntlet. In a campaign video, Trump has now announced a new policy pledge. And he believes this is the pledge that will galvanize not just his entire base, but much of the country in response to Joe Biden's invasion. And make no mistake about it, what we are facing at the southern border is a full-scale foreign invasion. It is the greatest amount of illegal aliens to have ever poured into our border, across our border, into our country, in our nation's history. And all of them who are coming, if they are pregnant, or while they're in the United States, and they end up having a baby, those children will be granted automatic birthright citizenship. They become U.S. citizens automatically. Automatically. And they are legally entitled to taxpayer-funded health care, to welfare, to an education, to the right to vote, to chain migration. And I'm going to get into some of the cuts that I'm going to play of Trump, but this is Trump's point. It's a massive scam. They come in across the border. They then have a child in the United States. Remember, they're both illegal. They're both illegally, criminally breaking into our country. Neither of them, forget citizens, are legal residents or even legally entitled to be in the United States. And yet, they can have a child, and we have to then grant that child, according to the liberals, we have to grant them full automatic birthright citizenship. As Trump points out, this is done nowhere else in the world. Nowhere else. In any other country, they think this policy is sheer insanity, madness, and frankly, an insult. Try to go to, I don't know, Sweden, or France, or Finland, or Japan, or take your pick, and come into that country illegally. And then stay there with your partner, and then you have a baby. And that child is suddenly now a Swedish citizen, or a French citizen, or a Japanese citizen, entitled to full rights, full protections, full benefits, including the right to vote. And then, because they're a citizen, they can say, well, now I want my parents to come, who are already with me. So they get to stay legally. And then I want my uncles and my aunts and my cousins and my grandparents. And before you know it, 20, 30, 40 family members, chain migration, can legally come into those countries, all of them taking full advantage of the rights and benefits that country has to offer. Do you see how crazy this is? Well, that's what we have now here in the United States of America. And as Trump pointed out, this is not just utterly immoral, which it is. It's not just, by the way, blatantly illegal and unconstitutional, regardless of what the open borders advocates, liberals, and rhinos claim. Mitt Romney may claim it, Joe Biden may claim it, Obama may claim it, but just because they claim it doesn't make it true. Our founding fathers never intended the 14th Amendment for illegal aliens to come into our country, plop, have a baby, and all of a sudden, that baby is a full American? On what planet? And so, as Trump said, this is a massive incentive, a huge magnet that is drawing in millions and millions and millions from all over the world. Not just Mexico, Central Latin America. They're coming in from Africa. They're coming in from Eastern Europe. They're coming in from the Middle East. They're coming in from China. They're coming in from all over, baby. So, as Trump says, on day one, I will issue an executive order that will end automatic citizenship, birthright citizenship for children of illegal aliens. And if the liberals don't like it, they can go smoke a pipe. Roll cut 38. Mike.
The United States is among the only countries in the world that says that even if neither parent is a citizen nor even lawfully in the country, their future children are automatic citizens the moment the parents trespass onto our soil. As has been laid out by many scholars, this current policy is based on a historical myth and a willful misinterpretation of the law by the open borders advocates. There aren't that many of them around. It's amazing. Who wants this? Who wants to have prisoners coming into our country? Who wants to have people who are very sick coming into our country? People from mental institutions coming into our country. And come they will. They're coming by the thousands, by the tens of thousands. As part of my plan to secure the border on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order making clear to federal agencies that under the correct interpretation of the law, going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship.
Yeah, baby. Yeah. You had me at hello. You had me at hello. Finally. My only question is what took so long? But anyway, better late than never. Trump now says, I'm elected to a second term. Day one, no automatic citizenship for illegal aliens. None. They're not going to collect any welfare. They're not going to eventually have the right to vote. They're not going to get free health care, free education, free food stamps, free housing. All of that ends. And the chain migration that comes with it, no. We know the scam. Illegal parents come in, then they have the child. The child, well, I can't live without my mama and dada, so I sponsor my mother and my father, and this is how they keep this scam going. This is all going to end. Furthermore, and I think on this, Trump is 1,000% correct. When you look at these numbers, these mind-boggling numbers that are now pouring in across the border, 10,000 illegals a day. A day. They don't stop. They just keep coming. Caravan after caravan, wave after wave. This is utterly unsustainable. New York City, full. Eric Adams delivered a speech saying, we have no more hotels, no more motels. It's full. We're now dumping them into upstate New York. Chicago, the uber liberal mayor, has come out and said Chicago is full, completely full. We can no longer take in any more illegals. Now we're dumping them into neighboring suburban counties. So what you're seeing now is an exhaustion. We are being overwhelmed under this onslaught of criminal, illegal, unlimited immigration. Now, one more point. And to me, this is so obvious, but I can't believe I have to make it, but we're living in Biden's America. He's right. Venezuela, for example, it's part of their official government policy. Maduro has openly announced it, says we're going to empty out all our prisons. Why should we take care of all these criminals? Send them El Norte. Let the Americans deal with them. It's part of their war against us. Their mental asylums, their mental institutions. Why should we have to pay for all this? Send them El Norte. Send them up north. You have murderers. You have rapists. You have child molesters. You have gangbangers. Mentally ill people. They're just coming, wave after wave. So I want you to think about this. Some gangbanger, some criminal, some rapist illegally breaks into our country, comes into our country illegally, and then ends up having a child with someone else who's illegal, and suddenly now these two criminals can have a child who has the right to stay in the United States, is suddenly now automatically an American? Does this make any rational, moral, ethical, national sense, fiscal, economic, political? Does it make any sense to you on any level? No, it doesn't. This is an issue I stand with Trump on 1,000%. I hope everyone else in the Republican field, including Ron DeSantis, embraces and adopts this policy as well. It's an idea that is way overdue. I want to ask you, Kuhner country, do you support Trump's policy pledge, his proposal? Should we now end automatic citizenship for illegal aliens? I say yes. What do you say? All of your calls next. 619 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Trump now on the offense. Listen now to President Trump in a campaign video released just yesterday, saying on day one, you want to know what I'm going to do? I'm going to issue an executive order. It will now ban automatic citizenship. I will ban birthright citizenship for the children or the forthcoming children, the babies of illegal aliens. No longer can they come into our country illegally and then plop, have a baby, and then automatically that child is given the full rights and benefits of any other American. Listen now to Trump saying we are being invaded, and this policy now has become utterly irresponsible and, frankly, a threat to the continued existence of our republic. Roll cut 38A, Mike.
Joe Biden has launched an illegal foreign invasion of our country, allowing a record number of illegal aliens to storm across our borders. From all over the world they came. Under Biden's current policies, even though these millions of illegal border crossers have entered the country unlawfully, all of their future children will become automatic U.S. citizens. Can you imagine? They'll be eligible for welfare, taxpayer-funded health care, the right to vote, chain migration, and countless other government benefits, many of which will also profit the illegal alien parents. This policy is a reward for breaking the laws of the United States and is obviously a magnet helping draw the flood of illegals across our borders. They come by the millions and millions and millions. They come from mental institutions. They come from jails, prisoners, some of the toughest, meanest people you'll ever see.
He's 1,000% correct. And we can't afford it. It's utterly unsustainable. But more than that, which is a big thing, don't get me wrong, but even more than that, it's now flooding and swamping our country. We are now being invaded on a scale unparalleled, really, in the history of humanity. No country can absorb this many illegal aliens. And they're coming wave after wave after wave. And one of the big draws, one of the big reasons is they know all they have to do is step a foot on American soil and boom, have a baby. And according to these insane liberals, those on the lunatic left, they're given automatic citizenship. Their children now have all the rights that your children have, my children have. They can right to vote, as he puts it, the right to welfare, the right to free education, the right to health care, the right to even have chain migration for their family members. In other words, they're just as American as you or I. How is that possible? Now, obviously, that's a massive magnet for people all over the world. All you got to do is get your foot in, have a child, and that child stays forever, and you stay with that child forever. All of it paid for by the taxpayers of this great country. It is the ultimate scam, the ultimate con. And if we're not careful, this grift, this con, is going to destroy and bankrupt us. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868. Larry, usually in Leominster, but now, in my former hometown, Larry in Montreal, Quebec, Canada. How are you, Larry? And Larry, if you don't mind me asking, what are you doing in Montreal, my friend?
Oh, bonjour, mon frère. So I took off on Memorial Day in the morning on my motorcycle and ended up in Montreal.
You mean you just took a ride and you ended up north of the border?
Well, a little planning, but I wanted to. I haven't gone this far in a while, and want to get an extra stamp on my passport while I can. But yeah, I didn't think this one through, Jeff, because I don't speak French, not a lick. Can't read signs, can't do anything. I'm looking around, I'm like, oh boy, this was brilliant. Beautiful weather, though, I got to admit.
The weather's nice?
Oh, yeah, weather's nice. I went down and rode the big Ferris wheel and did the zip line and stuff, all that fun stuff.
Now, when you tell them you're an American, they tend to be very friendly. Are you telling everybody you're an American?
I stick out like a sore thumb, Jeff.
That's good. No, but I mean, because some people come from English Canada and they don't speak any French, and they kind of resent that. But if you say, "Hey, I'm an American. I'm sorry, I don't speak French. I'm an American," they're like, well, that's okay.
I'm very polite, and I'm smart enough to know when I'm not in my element and not to be a wise ass, because I am a wise ass. But I know my place, and I'm like, yeah, this isn't the right place to be doing this. So.
Larry, I know you're north of the border, my friend, but I got to ask you, what do you make of this? Trump says it's going to be a central policy of his. Day one, he's going to execute it. He's going to make a big issue out of it during the campaign. Is it a winner for him? Is it a loser? Do you like it? Do you not like it?
It is. It's going to be a winner for him because of what's currently happening at the border. When you have liberals, diehard liberals, and diehard blue sanctuary, they name themselves sanctuary cities. I bet they're regretting that idea, saying this is too much, we can't handle this. Yeah, you're on a winning streak with this policy. Jeff, the road to disaster is always paved with good intentions. When they created that law, that was created for legal immigrants that might have been here on a work visa or, student visa or anything. And if they have a child, they have that right? And it's always going to be, I hate to be crass, but it's going to be some sleazeball lawyer that's going to work this to their advantage to help illegal aliens to make money. Every time there's what someone thinks is a good law, someone else is going to find a way to exploit it. And they're exploiting the law. And where a lot of people...
Larry, do me a favor. We're up against a hard break. We're going to go right back to Larry, usually in Leominster, now in Montreal on a short trip. Larry says that they've been able to exploit loopholes and our generosity, but no more. 6:29 on the, it's actually 6:30 now on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. Okay, Trump now says day one, he's elected president. He's sworn in. He will end what's called birthright citizenship, automatic citizenship granted to the children, the babies, the newborn infants of illegal aliens. He says they're exploiting our laws, exploiting our system, our goodwill, and this will now come to an end. No other country in the world does this. No one says you can just set foot on any country's soil, even though you do it illegally, and all of a sudden you have a child, and they're citizens of that country, and they can collect welfare and government benefits, and in fact sponsor as many family members to come and become citizens as well, have the right to vote, all the legal protections, all the benefits, only in the United States. And we are now being overrun at the southern border. He says it's time to end automatic citizenship. It is part of his overall strategy and plan to shut down, secure, and close the border. Do you agree with it? Let's go right back to Larry, usually in Leominster. He's now in Montreal. Larry, you were saying it makes a lot of sense to you, and now even many liberals who are pushing for sanctuary cities now realize what a disaster that idea has become. They're full, they're saturated, they're exhausted, they're bankrupt. They don't know what to do. Please pick up where you left off, Larry.
Well, Jeff, I would like to see him go further than this and show these journalists for their true colors, because I'm sure none of them understand our history. I would say if I get back into office for the duration of my second term, I'm going to put a moratorium, no immigration at all till we get this all straightened out. The press would have a field day screaming and hollering at this until he points out that we actually banned all immigration for about, 20, 30 years, until a certain Kennedy who can't drive cajoled President Reagan to lift that sanction. And that's one of the things that I hate what Reagan did, was he did it based on a false promise. I think it was from Tip O'Neill and the others, saying if you do this, we'll actually secure the borders. That was, 40 years ago, and they still haven't secured them?
In other words, Larry, so you think Trump needs to go even further? Just say a full moratorium on all immigration, legal, illegal, everything, for a couple of years until we can sort our country out, deport most, if not all, of these illegals, really secure our border, get a handle on what's happening. We're not bringing in anybody. Sorry, we're closed. Temporarily, but we're closed.
Yeah, exactly, sir. We have he has precedent because we did it before as a nation. And what this will do during the debates, it'll instantly show you who's for real and who's a rhino in true fashion. Because all the rhinos will say, no, we can't do that, compassionate, this and that, and excuse. And the voting people, the people who vote, will see who's a true American, America First conservative, and who's an actual rhino who really doesn't care what happens to America as long as they get their money.
Larry, I got to tell you, knowing Trump, I think he may go for that idea as well. To me, this is a very different Trump. You can see he knows he's got one more kick at the can left. He's holding nothing back. Larry, as always, thank you, and please be safe. Come back safe, my friend. Larry, when you're there, have some poutine. I'm telling you, it's very good. 617-266-6868 is the number. Mr. Garcia in New Jersey. Thanks for holding, Mr. Garcia, and welcome.
Listen, how you doing, Mr. Kuhner? Long time no speak.
Nice to hear from you again, Mr. Garcia. How are you?
Great. Listen, I want to ask you a question. I know you're going to get angry with me. Donald Trump is responsible, all the illegal, to come here. Why? He was talking. I really have to stop talking and do the work we have to secure our border. Number second, the congressman can do something right now to shut down the border right now, because you can't even ridiculous. Go illegal making baby, it's a hot cake. And enough is enough. And we want to know if the Congress can do the work and close the border right now.
Well, you see, Mr. Garcia, I got to say, your Ann Coulter makes a very similar argument to what you're making, which is that she argued that when Trump was president, he was mostly talk, but very little action. That's what she says. I disagree, obviously. I think he did secure much of the border. I think he reduced illegal immigration considerably. And now Biden has unleashed the floodgates. But Mr. Garcia, to get to your point, the Congress can stop this right now, but they don't have the votes. They don't have the votes in the House, and they certainly don't have the votes in the Senate. So because of the Democrats and the rhinos, they formed an unholy alliance. They are refusing to secure our border. And that's why Biden is getting away with this. And that's why Trump is now coming out with this new policy. My fear, Mr. Garcia, is that it may eventually just be too late. That you just allow so many illegals into our country that we're just going to be replaced. There's a certain point you just hit critical mass. And numbers are numbers are numbers. And we're looking at what? We already have about 23, 25 illegal aliens. This is before Biden. Biden now has added what? Another 10? So we're looking at over 30 million illegals in our country, with millions more coming every year. So we're going to be at 40 million very soon. I don't see, after 30, 40 million illegals, I don't see how a country can bounce back. I just don't. It's too much. It's going to break our back. It's going to bankrupt us. It's going to overwhelm us. So if we don't turn things around now, it may be too late. I mean, I hate to be the bearer of bad news, but that's where we are. Mr. Garcia, thank you so much for your call. I really appreciate it. No, the only thing that bothers me about Trump's proposal, and of course you may disagree with me, is he says he's going to sign an executive order. Okay, look, it's great. I mean, I want the anchor babies to stop. To me, this is ridiculous that we have anchor babies in this country. But an executive order, as Biden has now shown, can be overturned like this. It can be repealed after 4 years. The way Biden has overturned and rescinded almost all of Trump's executive orders. So what I would really like to see, beyond an executive order, is to have a Republican House, a Republican Senate, or to be more accurate, an America First House and an America First Senate, a MAGA House and a MAGA Senate, and then they pass a law ending this so-called birthright citizenship, permanently securing the border, building the wall, finishing the wall, putting all kinds of assets on the southern border, ending this once and for all, and start deporting these illegal aliens back. To me, if we don't do that, this is more patchwork than a real permanent solution. So although I love the idea, don't get me wrong, I would love to see Congress be brought on board as well. Not just an executive order, legislation, law. And then you really then have the Democrats and the rhinos, the open borders crowd. You're going to have the globalists now on the defensive. So if I was advising Trump, executive order, very good. But let's do a law. If we do that, that's a permanent victory. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Jay in Springfield. Thanks for holding, Jay, and welcome.
Morning, Jeff. The lifeboat's full.
Well, we're starting to sink.
Absolutely.
Forget the lifeboat is full. We're starting to sink here, Jay.
I know. Hey, speaking of Canada, I'm sure you're aware of this, but probably most people aren't. Many years ago, I don't know when, but there was an Asian legislature in Canada who saw women coming from Asia 8-9 months pregnant, and they were ready to pop and had the baby, and all of a sudden they were Canadian citizens. He said enough is enough, and he did get this passed as a law in Canada. I'm not from Canada, but I had heard that, and I figured...
No, you're completely right.
Maybe you could let people know about that.
Yeah, no, it's illegal in Canada, of course. And it was legal immigrants who led the drive in Canada to say, this is ridiculous. You're taking advantage of our generosity. We let you come, we let you visit, we let you even work temporarily. That's fine. But until you become a Canadian citizen, you don't have any skin in the game. So how dare you come in and just, take advantage of our generosity and, plump, there comes the baby, and all of a sudden the baby's a Canadian? I don't think so. So you're completely right, Jay. No other country does this. None. So when I hear liberals defending this, I'm like, you people are insane. You're defending the indefensible. And I know it's indefensible now because you don't even want them in your own sanctuary cities. You're telling me, your mayors and governors are telling me we're full. We can't take any more. So I don't know what else to tell you. So let's end this, secure our border, and have a normal country again. Hello, Jay?
Has to be. Yeah, no, I was just mesmerized listening to what you're saying.
Go
you're
ahead,
absolutely
Jay.
Right. And I would also, if I was Trump, I'd also say I'm going to move all these troops on the border and maybe have some bases down there.
Oh, I'm with you. No, I think there's no question. We have to militarize the border, not just build the wall. We have to put troops there. We have to have bases there. And we have to go after the drug cartels. The Mexican drug cartels are a serious threat to this country. They're bringing in most of these illegals. Never mind the drugs, the fentanyl, the criminals. We have to declare war on the Mexican drug cartels. And that Mexican president is out of control. I don't know if you've been hearing what he's been saying, Jay. He's now urging all Latinos not to vote for either Trump or DeSantis because both are promising to secure the border. So he's directly meddling and interfering in our elections. Who the hell does this guy think he is? Your calls next. 648 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, President Trump now yesterday releases a massive campaign video. Molto importante, as they say. He now says one of his central policy pledges, if he is elected to a second term, the day he's inaugurated, day one, he will pass an executive order or sign an executive order, to be more precise, that will end automatic citizenship for the babies, children of illegal aliens. The days of them coming in, having a baby, and the baby given now, full rights, all the benefits of an American U.S. citizen are over. He says it will not be recognized. These children will not have any citizenship whatsoever. In fact, these children and their parents are going to be deported. They are abusing our system, taking advantage of our system, and they're doing it based on sheer legal misinterpretation by the open borders crowd. You don't have a right to U.S. citizenship if your parents come into this country illegally. You don't. Listen now to Trump saying we will no longer give automatic citizenship for children born of illegals in the United States. At least one parent must be a citizen or a legal resident to qualify. Roll cut 38B, Mike.
My order will also end their unfair practice known as birth tourism, where hundreds of thousands of people from all over the planet squat in hotels for their last few weeks of pregnancy to illegitimately and illegally obtain U.S. citizenship for the child, often to later exploit chain migration to jump the line and get green cards for themselves and their family members. It's a practice that's so horrible and so egregious, but we let it go forward. At least one parent will have to be a citizen or a legal resident in order to qualify. We will secure our borders and we will restore our sovereignty starting on day one. Our country will be great again. Our country will be a country again. We'll have borders. We'll have proper education, and we'll put America first.
And we'll have national sovereignty. To me, that's the key. Yeah, dead on. Dead on. Now, I gotta say, you may disagree with me. I'd like to see him a little tougher on this. But and before I get to that, look, in Miami, I'm just using Miami as an example because it's been widely documented. You have Russian oligarchs who come, or at least they used to come before the war in Ukraine. You have Saudis. You have wealthy Chinese. They come to Miami. Their wives or girlfriends or whatever are 8.5 months pregnant. They stay at a hotel for a couple of weeks, as Trump puts it, squat at a hotel, and then boom, they go to the local hospital. And by the way, none of them are U.S. citizens or even legal residents. They're just, some Saudi sheikh, some Russian oligarch, some well-connected member of the Chinese Communist Party, and they just fly in, stay at a hotel, spend a few bucks, and then she's about to pop. They put her in the hotel. They put her in the hospital. Boom, they have a baby, and all of a sudden the baby's a U.S. citizen. It's called birth tourism. And I can't tell you how prevalent and widespread it is. And and within a week or two, they take the baby and they go back to their home country. But what do they have? They've got citizenship. And so that child is an American citizen plus a Russian citizen or a Saudi citizen or a Chinese citizen or whatever place they came from. And they can come into the country whenever they want. They're educated for free. They're given free health care. They're able to the right to vote. They're able then to sponsor their own parents to get green cards. And as Trump rightly says, they jump the line. They go ahead of everybody else. It's a massive, massive scam. You better believe it. It's time to end it. Now, the only thing I think I'd be honestly tougher than Trump on, you may disagree, he says from this point on, you have to have one of the two must be a U.S. citizen or at least a legal resident, I guess a green card holder or whatever. You have a child, then the child will be given citizenship. I disagree. I think you must have at least one parent be a citizen. Just think of this. I come to this country to study. Okay, someone comes to this country to study. You're here legally. And you're with someone who's here illegally. And the two of you have a baby. Suddenly the baby now gets to be a U.S. citizen because you're on a student visa or you're on a work visa? Just one? I don't think so. I'm sorry. That's not right. That's not fair. One of the two of you needs to be a U.S. citizen. Then I know that your baby is most likely going to stay in the United States and that this is a legitimate baby in the eyes of American law and in the eyes of American sovereignty. I'm sorry, but you don't have a right to come to America and suddenly, I work here or I study here. So if I get pregnant here, my baby becomes an American. I don't think so. That you have to be a citizen, at least have one of the parents be a citizen. And then if the baby is born in the United States, yes, then the baby is an American citizen. Yes. No, by the way, again, most countries, I'm talking democracies, most countries around the world, you have to have one of the two parents be a citizen. You can't just, you can't go to France. Here, the Kuhner man, I'm going to get a PhD in whatever, French art history. I can't just go to France, study at one of these universities, and then my wife comes with me, say grace, so she's there just because of me, and suddenly we have a baby, and the baby's a French citizen. No. France is going to say, you're not a citizen, your wife's not a citizen, your baby's not a citizen, but it was born in France. I don't care. We're not picking up the tab. Why should we pick up the tab? Go back to, whatever. Go back to the United States. You're an American citizen? Yes. Go back to America. Bye. So to me, one of the two parents needs to be a U.S. citizen if you're going to have a baby in the United States, and the baby is then automatically given U.S. citizenship. That's me. Agree, disagree. 617-266-6868 is the number. Who should be able to get automatic citizenship in the United States? If a baby is born, should it be legal residents, or does one of the two parents have to be a U.S. citizen? And is it time to end birth tourism? I say yes. What do you say? 617-266-6868 is the number. And by the way, I know Boston is a major hub for birth tourism. If you work at one of our major hospitals here, have you witnessed it or seen it yourself? Because some of the stories that have been reported, they take up an entire floor. These Saudi sheiks come and they literally just pay for the whole floor. And they're not an American citizen. Their wife is not an American citizen. The child is born, boom, automatic U.S. citizenship. And within 2 weeks, they're back to Riyadh. 617-266-6868. Russ in Boston. Thanks for holding, Russ, and welcome.
Good morning, patriotic Kuhner land. Jeff, this is the scumbag Democratic Party at work to change the demographics of the United States. Today we have foreigners who refuse to assimilate, and Democratic politicians suck up to them. I am sick of it, okay? We need our patriotic savior, Donald Trump, back in office. And all Republican candidates running for president to defeat President Trump are riding on the backs of injustice. Again, they are riding on the backs of injustice. In order to support them, support these candidates, they are injustice enablers. And again, you support these other candidates, you are an injustice enabler. That's what you are. We must not let what the deep state did to President Trump stand. The enemy within is the leaders of the Democratic Party, and there's no denying it.
Russ, you're dead on as usual, my friend. I want to ask you, this is a very strong proposal from Trump. I know it really strikes a chord with many Americans, not just his base. Do you think he's right? Do you think on day one we need to end birthright citizenship once and for all?
Jeff, there's no question he's right, 100%. And the interesting part, Jeff, I agree with Donald Trump almost everything that he has done and everything that he wants to do is that I love this country and I'm watching it being destroyed and I'm sick of it. And I'm also sick and tired of people that go along to get along, and that's why the country is going to hell.
Oh, amen. Russ, I agree with you. Thank you for that call, my friend. 617-266-6868 is the number. Maureen in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, Maureen, and welcome.
Good morning.
Hi, Maureen.
Well, first of all, I just wanted to say the premise of the United States is in order for people to come over from Europe and so forth, they had to go through Ellis Island. They had to jump through hoops to get their paperwork and make sure that they were legal in this country. I don't know what happened to that. I don't know why that changed. Quite frankly, it's very, very frightening. The other thing is, in order to get married in the United States and you be from another country, you have to have your partner be an American citizen in order to become an American citizen underneath them. So I don't understand why this is a no-brainer. I don't understand.
No, you're completely right. No, you're right. You have to have a sponsor. No, you're right. You have to have a sponsor. Like, for example, when I came to the United States decades ago, I had a company sponsor me. It was the Washington Times. And the reason was they really needed somebody to fill a position. They couldn't fill it domestically. They tried. They needed somebody with multiple languages, multiple experiences in Europe, in the Balkans, in the United States. They needed someone with multiple skills, and they just said, we can't. So they broadened the search, and that's how the Kuhner man got in. So, but you needed a sponsor. Same thing when you get married. You're completely right. You can't just show up in the United States, get married, and go, hey, we're now citizens. Like, what? No. So, I don't understand why having a baby is any different. The whole thing is, it's ridiculous. It's outrageous. Now, in the past, because the crisis wasn't as bad as it is now, many people were able to turn a blind eye. But as Trump points out, when you've got now 5, 6, 7, 8, 10 million illegal aliens in the last 2 years alone, now invading our country, pouring in unprecedented numbers. And Maureen, you got to see the pictures. Many of the women that are coming in are pregnant. I mean, they're like 7, 8 months. I mean, like they're really pregnant. It's so obvious. Come in, just get in by hook or by crook, have your anchor baby, voila. The baby stays, you stay, and all paid for by the taxpayers. Well, we can do 5,000. We can even do 10,000, 50,000, 100,000. But we can't do 4, 5, 6, 10, 20, 30, 40 million. We're going to go broke. And that's where we are. That's why this is so dangerous. And I believe this issue is going to put Trump right over the top. Maureen, I'm telling you, I think the country looks at this and says, what took everybody so long? They're making a mockery of U.S. citizenship. I mean, am I wrong?
At all. No, not at all. I see this in the medical field. They tell me, oh, no, we came over here to have our baby. I said, are you American citizens? No, but we need to have this baby here because we can't afford to have this baby and we'll have it done free. It blows my mind, the things that they think of, because they're so brainwashed. New Zealand, Australia, Italy, France, their mentality is, if you don't belong here, if you can't give me something, some kind of occupation that's going to benefit my country, you're not welcomed. I don't understand why the United States made people jump through hoops for Ellis Island, and then it just went away.
You're dead on.
Let's just get back to basics here. You want to come to this country? I want you to come to this country. You have something that's going to make this country great. I'm all for it. Do you have all your paperwork in order? Because if you don't, I'll help you get your paperwork in order. But if you don't come to my country.
Amen. That's what made us one of the greatest countries in the history of the world.
That's
we wanted immigrants to come, but they were here to contribute. And they were here because they obeyed our laws. They wanted to become Americans. Now it's a free-for-all. It's like a jungle. Just anybody who can, just come. So criminals are coming in, mentally ill are coming in, drug traffickers are coming in, you name it. Literally, child molesters are coming in. They don't know, they don't care, just bring them in. And by liberal logic, if they just have a baby, then that's it. The baby's a U.S. citizen, and the parents can stay. And you and I foot the tab. We foot the bill. Now, you want to know why California is going bankrupt? You want to know why Chicago's going bankrupt? You want to know why New York is going bankrupt? That's why. And it's so obvious to everyone else but them. Maureen, thank you very much for that call. See, look, she mentioned Italy, France, New Zealand, Australia. I can rattle off another 150 countries. Their attitude is, yeah, you want to come, but what are you bringing to the table? And we're going to have an immigration policy that benefits the interests of Italy or of France or of Australia or of New Zealand. So in other words, well, I want to come and pick melons. Well, we have enough melon pickers. No insult intended. No, are you a doctor? We need doctors. Okay, well, we need tech people. Are you a tech person? No. Well, I don't know. Try another country. But we're not, we don't just, you don't have a right to come to our country. We don't hand them out like it's candy. Passports, we don't just hand them out. Only in this country. Seriously, we're the only ones who do this. And the world laughs at us. And so if you're going to allow yourself to be taken advantage of, the world is going to take advantage of you. And that's what they're doing. And Trump is the only, along with DeSantis, to be fair, Trump and DeSantis are the only two, in this case Trump, on this issue. Trump is the only one saying, no, you're not going to take advantage of us anymore. And the only counter argument the left has is racist. Racist for what? Putting the needs and interests of America and Americans first? That's suddenly now. So by your standard, literally, every other country in the world is racist. Liberalism is a mental disorder. Thurman in Winchester. Thanks for holding, Thurman, and welcome.
Morning. The antecedent of the problems with birthright citizenship began in 1982 in a decision where Justice Brennan had to do with education for illegal immigrants, and he slipped a footnote down there and referenced a book written in 1912 by some nobody, Clement Bouvet. He said, with respect to distinction between subject to the jurisdiction thereof clause, I can see no difference between legal and illegal immigrants. And that was sort of the antecedent of going down this road of it was a sneaky footnote, which can be very dangerous in Supreme Court decisions. Of course, the real antecedent of the problem is a rather poorly worded amendment. It was written by Jacob Howard of Michigan, the Citizenship Clause, which is Section 1 of the 14th Amendment. It just says all persons born and naturalized in the United States and is subject to the jurisdiction thereof. Well, what was he getting at there? So the dictionary, he really meant the parents. In other words, if the parents are subject to the jurisdiction of Mexico or France, but they happen to be visiting, they would not be considered U.S. persons, and therefore their child was not going to be a U.S. citizen.
Bingo.
So
Thurman, you're dead on. You're obviously a very learned man, Thurman. Thurman, I want to make it as simple and basic as possible. Let me ask you, do I have a right to come to your home?
No.
Does anybody? No, really. I mean, hey, Thurman, I hear you make the best pancakes. Oh, we want to try some of those pancakes, Thurman. Does anybody, no, really, do people just have the right to enter your home?
Well, of course not.
Country's the same.
Okay.
Country's exactly right. Country's exactly the same. It's our home. In fact, in almost every other country in the world, they call it a homeland. The land of our home. It's a homeland. It's our homeland. It's our home. It's our national home. So no one has the right to just come into your home. Now, some people are invited guests. Some people become part of Thurman's family. That's what a legal immigrant is. A daughter-in-law, a son-in-law, whatever. That's okay, of course. You want that. That's good. But they come in, they're respectful. They ask for your daughter's hand in marriage or your son's hand, and you get to know them and you vet them and they're good. And, hopefully they're going to have other children and, you have grandkids, and that's how it's done. Well, it's the same thing with the country. So this idea, to me, it's profoundly anti-American. It's frankly un-American. I come into the country illegally. I then have a child. This child is rewarded for breaking the law, for entering illegally, and suddenly now is a U.S. citizen? And the parents get to stay as well? It's perverse. It's perverse. It's sick. It's illegal. It's unconstitutional. And Trump is saying he's going to end it. God bless him. Thurman, thank you for that call. 617-266-6868 is the number. For those who say you cannot prevent people from becoming citizens, if their parents just step foot on American soil, what they're saying is you don't have the right to protect and defend your home. your country, your homeland. That's what they're saying. That anybody can just come, have a baby, and there's nothing you can do about it. Your calls next. 7:19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, President Trump now says it's time to end birthright citizenship. If he becomes the next president, should he win a second term, on day one, he will sign an executive order ending automatic citizenship for the babies, the children of illegal aliens who are born in America, once their parents have illegally come into the country. He says it's a massive magnet. It is an incentive for millions and millions to keep pouring in. It is now hurting this country economically, socially, morally, politically, and it must come to an end. Why? We can no longer afford it. It's that simple. Listen now to Trump saying this has gone on for too long and it must end, and end now before we are completely swamped and overwhelmed. Roll cut 38, Mike.
The United States is among the only countries in the world that says that even if neither parent is a citizen nor even lawfully in the country, their future children are automatic citizens the moment the parents trespass onto our soil. As has been laid out by many scholars, this current policy is based on a historical myth and a willful misinterpretation of the law by the open borders advocates. There aren't that many of them around. It's amazing. Who wants this? Who wants to have prisoners coming into our country? Who wants to have people who are very sick coming into our country? People from mental institutions coming into our country. And come they will. They're coming by the thousands, by the tens of thousands. As part of my plan to secure the border on day one of my new term in office, I will sign an executive order making clear to federal agencies that under the correct interpretation of the law, going forward, the future children of illegal aliens will not receive automatic U.S. citizenship.
I mean, yes. Yes, baby. Now we're talking. So, do you agree, disagree? 617-266-6868 is the number. Eddie in Maine. Thanks for holding, Eddie, and welcome.
Hey, good morning, Jeff. Eddie, Sebago Lake, Maine. How are you?
I'm good. How are you, Eddie?
Oh, very well. But I'm afraid my opinion is that the American male of this country has lost their coronas. They don't want to fight for their own country. I only see two things right now. You got to shut the goddamn country down, but it's going to take time. It's not going to happen overnight. All we got to have with I think it was during the Civil War, they wanted to have separated the state. The South didn't want to be part of this union anymore. We got to set up some states we maybe break away. Listen, I worked for a lot of companies that had a lot of illegal aliens working there. And the biggest joke with them was, hey, amigo, you might have won the alimony, whatever you call it, but we're going to win the country without firing a shot. And it looks like they're doing it.
Well, we're letting them. I mean, look, we've opened the door. And what door? We've opened everything. I mean, now they're just pouring in. I mean, Eddie, look, the media has left the border because now they think the story is over. It's not. You talk to those border towns, they're as overwhelmed now as they were, when he lifted Title 42? They're coming in record numbers, day after day after day. There's no end in sight. There's just no end. So Texas now is overwhelmed. California is overwhelmed. Arizona is overwhelmed. By the way, they're coming in now. Fentanyl is at an all-time record high. The drug cartels have annexed the southern border. We no longer control the southern border. Our border is now controlled by the Mexican drug cartels. This is what almost every border agent will tell you. And now they're coming in. Look, we're finalizing a vetting of a person who contacted the show. We want to make sure the information is 1,000% correct. And it looks like it is. We're just putting the finishing touches on it. They're in Taunton, in Massachusetts. They're filling up hotels in Taunton, Massachusetts. Now they're coming in hotels all across Massachusetts, New Hampshire, Maine. So they're being resettled all over the country. And they're all being told, have a baby. All you got to do now is have a baby. You have that baby, the baby becomes an automatic U.S. citizen and entitled to all the welfare, the right to vote, and chain migration. So have the baby, and then the baby sponsors you. And so you, the parents, get to stay forever. And there's nothing the dumb gringo can do about it. So you do this for what? 4 more years? 6 more years? It's over. I mean, there's nothing else to talk about. So, Eddie, you're completely right. We are enabling and allowing an invasion to take place. And when Jeff Kuhner says it's time to impeach Mayorkas, it's time to impeach Joe Biden, it's time to impeach all of them who have allowed for this invasion of our country, I'm the bad guy. I swear, I'm the extremist. So the guy who says, defend our sovereignty, defend our borders, defend our laws, literally the very existence of our country, I'm the guy who's the bad guy. That's the crazy world that we now live in, Eddie.
We got to wait maybe close to 2 more years. And how many more are going to cross the border within 2 years? You're doing nothing. You know, nothing is being done. Our military is helping them cross the border. Our police are shuttling them across our country. What can we do?
I mean, all we can do right now is protest, tell our elected representatives, put pressure on them, and push back. We just have to start telling our government to push back. And I think this is what I love about Trump. Trump is telling them, you're not getting away with this. We're going to deport your ass. You think you're in, you're not in. So if I were you, head back. Because the moment I come into power, we're going to start deporting you in massive record numbers. So that's the other thing. When we win in 2024, and we will win in 2024, it's time to deport every single one of them back. These are Biden's illegals. If Biden wants them, let him take care of them. But we're not paying for his mistakes anymore. 7:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, my friends, this is a tough question. I go, Sandy, whoa, you came up with a toughie. So it's the Kuhner Country poll question of the day, sponsored by Kelly Financial Services. And I got to tell you, the Kuhner man, ooh, I don't know about this one. So let's have a little bit of fun. What should President Trump do, assuming he wins? What should President Trump do in 2024, actually January 2025, but you know what I mean? What should Trump do on his first day in office? What should he do first? A, end birthright citizenship for illegal aliens. In other words, what he's promised he's going to do, which is pass an executive order or sign it that will end automatic citizenship for babies born to illegal aliens. Or B, finish the wall. In other words, come in and say, we're finishing the wall, bang, and we're signing an executive order, and we are going to guarantee that we're going to have a full wall, a beautiful wall, as Trump says, and it's going to be completed from beginning to end. What do you think? I know ideally you want both. I get it. So do I. But if you want, what's number one in terms of the priority? What would you say is numero uno? Ending automatic citizenship to the babies of those born to illegal immigrants, to illegal aliens, forgive me, or completing the wall? That's a good one. That is a really, really, really good one. What do you say? I'd love to hear from you. You can vote on our webpage, wrko.com/Kuhner, wrko.com/Kuhner, KUHN as in Nancy ER. As always, you can vote via Twitter. Our handle there, at the Kuhner Report, all one word, KUHNER. Marilyn in Norwood. Thanks for holding, Marilyn, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. I'm just going to make a few points and then I'll hang up.
Yes.
First of all, my father came to the United States in 1949, and at that time, even concentration camp survivors had to have sponsors and a job waiting for them and demonstrate good health. You could not enter the United States as a carrier of tuberculosis, or if it was detected at in New York or other entry points, I believe they would either try to treat you or send you home. He's now deceased, so I can't exactly verify what the actual processes was. But of course now it's very open-ended, and it raises a lot of questions about public health. I mean, we were all told it was essential to be immunized against the COVID virus, but since then, everyone is walking in. And what is going to happen if, heaven forbid, we have another pandemic in the future? We have no way of accounting for people if we have no documentation of who's in the country. We really can't assess who has been immunized and who hasn't. We could end up in a state of like a permanent pandemic crisis here. That's one point. The other, which really concerns me, is there's, certainly within the progressive wing of the Democratic Party, there are a lot of people who are very, very concerned about the long-term impact of the environment. But yet, years ago, the Sierra Club and some other environmental organizations were expressing concern, I think in the 70s or early 80s, about overpopulation in the United States. Well, what has happened to that issue? But I'm going to hang up now. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for that call, Marilyn. Both excellent points. Look, let me take the first one first. All of you need to know this. In Chicago, and now increasingly in other so-called sanctuary cities, and it's going to come to Boston. Hasn't happened yet, but I'm telling you it's coming to Boston. But in Chicago, New York, L.A., now they're allowing all of these illegals, children, whatever, to go into the public school system. Forget not having the COVID shot. They don't have to show proof of any immunization. In other words, polio, smallpox, you name it. So, for example, when, we had, our children, when they went to school and, they began to go to elementary school, we were told you have to show us proof that they've been, I think, 16 shots? Forgive me if I get the number wrong. 15, 16, 14, whatever it is. But there's a baseline of shots that every child must show that they have taken. If not, they're not allowed to go to public schools. They're just not allowed. I'm not talking COVID. This is before COVID. Well, in Chicago, they don't have, illegals do not have to show proof of any kind that they have any immunization at all on anything. Now, if you're an American citizen, I don't care what color your skin is, you don't show proof. Well, I took, when I was young as a baby, I got the polio shot. I got the shot for smallpox. I got the, whatever, all the vaccines you're supposed to take. If you don't show proof that you got them, they will not allow you to attend school. Doesn't matter if your parents pay taxes. So your parents are U.S. citizens. You're a U.S. citizen. Your parents are paying taxes for this school. If you don't have the basic 16 shots, and again, don't quote me on the number, okay, 15, 14, whatever, the basic shots, the vaccines, they don't let you in. But the illegals, Biden's illegals, they let in. And the parents are furious. The teachers, the staffers, the administrators are absolutely furious because now they're finding, not just in Chicago, but in big cities all across the country, that diseases that were once stamped out, unknown in this country, are now rearing their ugly head again. So, are we bringing in foreign diseases? No question. No question. Now, the other point about overpopulation, you're right. The hypocrisy of the green left, the environmentalist left, they would rail about overpopulation for decades. Now, all of a sudden, their silence is deafening. Crickets. And I want you to think, just stand back objectively. Think of the absolute contradiction, the hypocrisy of the left. What are they telling us? Here's what they're telling us. Don't drive a gas-powered car. Don't eat meat. Don't use power. The less power you use, the better. Don't fly. Don't drive. Everything now causes climate change. Everything now. They want us as poor as possible. Yet, what are they doing? They're taking people predominantly from the third world, and they're making them first world consumers. They're massively expanding the carbon footprint of all of these illegals coming in. Because guess what? They use air conditioning. They go around in gas-powered cars. They love to eat meat. I mean, I could just go on and on. Everything that they say is killing the planet, these third world illegals are contributing to. They're using a lot of electricity, a ton more electricity here than they ever would from where they come from. Because they're on the iPads, they're on the iPhones. Hell, they're staying at 4 or 5-star hotels. They're flying everywhere. They're being bussed everywhere. They got cars. They're driving everywhere. So they're turning people who live in the third world, who because they're very poor, can't really consume very much, and they're turning them into first world consumers, which apparently is adding to carbon and adding to the problem of climate change and killing the planet. So they're dramatically expanding our carbon footprint. By their own logic, they should be saying, no. You can't have one more person come into the United States. Oh, my God, look at the carbon they're all going to be emitting if you let them in. Which shows to you they're a bunch of liars. They're frauds and phonies. They don't believe their climate change religion. Because if they did, they wouldn't let one illegal come in. Not one. 617-266-6868 is the number. And this begs another question. When you allow people to break into your country, to trespass, which is what they're doing, they're not legal. They don't have a job. They don't have a sponsor. They're coming in on fraudulent asylum claims. Many are just coming in undetected. When you have a squatter in your home, do they respect your home? Do they want to assimilate into your home? So what kind of people are we bringing into the United States? There's a shocking story. Oh, you've got to hear it to believe it. This is our future if we don't stop it and stop it now. Your calls, don't touch that dial. 748 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's bulldozer, cleaning up the liberal bull. 617-266-6868 is the number. You can also text us 70470. 70470. This is from 917. Jeff, take this to the bank, as it's my personal story. When I got married in 1979 to a woman from Europe, the paperwork to get her to the United States was not only cumbersome and the waiting period almost a year, but I had to sign a document that stipulated that I, not the government, was responsible for her. No welfare, no benefits, no nada. Well, same thing with my parents when they went to Canada. My dad went first with his father, and then he brought my mother from the old country, and it was the exact same thing. He had to sponsor her. No government assistance, no welfare, no benefits, nothing. Absolutely zero. This is from 617. 508. Jeff, often American leftists now adore Canada for its woke policies. But in Canada, and I know this is true, even though I have owned a home here for 40 years, paid taxes for all of those years, as an American, I cannot and couldn't send my kids to school here in Canada. We're the only ones who do this. Really, it really is. It's not Uncle Sam. It's Uncle Sucker. Okay, now, what are we bringing in? So for all our generosity, for the trillions and trillions and trillions of dollars that we're spending, and basically driving our country broke, what are we getting in return? Are we getting super grateful people? Are we, the dreamers, they're better than Americans, they're better than us, they're superstars. Okay, well, I want you to take a look now at this. This story, as you know, is everywhere. At the City University of New York, CUNY as it's known. Their public law school recently, a couple weeks ago, had a graduation ceremony. And one of the people who spoke delivered the commencement address at the graduation ceremony. Now remember, this person is going to be a future lawyer. And everyone in the crowd that's cheering her are the graduates of CUNY Public Law School, so of their law program. So they're also going to be future lawyers, future judges. This is the future of the legal system. Her name is Fatima Musa Mohammed. She is a migrant from Yemen. Her parents fled Yemen. Yes, war-ravaged, civil war, Islamist Yemen, one of the poorest, God-forsaken countries on the face of the earth. They brought her as a child to the United States. Now, I don't know about you, but if I was fleeing a third world hellhole, I would be kissing the ground that I walk on in this country. Okay, but that's me. That's me. She's standing there in front of the class with her massive hijab. And listen to what comes out of her mouth. Roll cut 41. This is the commencement address. Roll cut 40. So forgive me. Roll cut 40, Mike.
The class that saw nothing but black Zoom square boxes for the first 2 years. There's a lot I can say about the loss and the pain we've all endured over the last 3 years, but I am reminded of Frantz Fanon's words. Things get bad for all of us, almost continually, and what we do under the constant stress reveals who and what we are. And so I'm here to celebrate who and what we are, who you are.
You had to attend Zoom classes? Like, are you serious? This was all your pain and suffering? You didn't even have to go to class? You stood in front of a computer? That's what you did? And listen to some blowhard go on about how evil and wicked the United States is and how racist our entire legal system is. And you're going on about all our pain. What about the people that lost their jobs? What about the people that lost their businesses? What about the people who died? What about the people who were told to take the jab and got adverse side effects? I mean, I could go on and on. Yeah, how about people starving in other places of the world? People who go hungry. Like, I don't know, Yemen. I'm just thinking out loud here. How about the poor? Yeah, or Ukraine. How about Ukraine? I'm just thinking, would you rather live in Ukraine or would you rather live in the United States? The pain and suffering, what we've endured. But she's just getting warmed up. She's just getting warmed up. Listen now to this. Roll cut 41. Mike.
Like many of you, I chose CUNY School of Law for its articulated mission to be law in the service of human needs. One of very few legal institutions created to recognize that the law is a manifestation of white supremacy that continues to oppress and suppress people in this nation and around the world. We joined this institution.
Look at him clapping. Look, whistling even.
We joined this institution to be equipped with the necessary legal skills to protect our communities.
They're not just clapping. They're whistling. So the U.S. laws, the U.S. legal system is a tool of white supremacy. This is what they're teaching the kids. It's called not critical race theory. It's called critical legal theory. It's the antecedent to the critical race theory. So according to what they're teaching them now, what they believe and what she's espousing is that there's no such thing as the rule of law. The law is not neutral. The law is all about power. And this power benefits one certain race, one certain group of people against others. So the key is to capture power to then use the law to go against another race and another group of people. Literally weaponize the law to target people based on their skin color and their race and their gender. So she's going on about how America is a white supremacist system used to, quote, oppress and suppress people like her. She goes to one of the most privileged law programs in the country. The woman comes from Yemen. And she's spitting on the United States. We're racist. We're oppressing her. And not just her, people all over the world. But don't worry, she'll get to, you know who she really means. The Palestinians. Because deep down, she's a Jew hater. She's not just an America hater. No. Israel, the Jews. We must stamp out the Jews. That's what she's really going to be getting at. But you listen to her, and I'm like, you ingrate. You blanking ingrate. This is the thanks we get from saving you from a life in Yemen? By the way, they have genital mutilation in Yemen. The women are forced to cover themselves up in a burqa. You think any woman in an Islamist state like Yemen, you think what, they can be a lawyer? You think they can be a teacher? You think they go to law school? And you stand there and you spit in our eyes like this? And worst of all, those woke idiots, get Fatima, Musa, give it to him, we're so woke. Listen to this, she's just getting warmed up. Roll cut 42, Mike.
To protect the organizers fighting endlessly day in and out with no accolades, no cameras, no votes, no PhD grants. working to lift the facade of legal neutrality and confront the systems of oppression that wreak violence on them. Systems of oppression created to feed an empire with a ravenous appetite for destruction and violence. Institutions created to intimidate, bully, and censor and stifle the voices of those who resist.
Unbelievable. So she's a victim. She's being stifled. She's being intimidated. She's being bullied. The United States is an empire with a ravenous appetite for destruction and violence against its own citizens, against minorities, against people like her, against everybody around the world. In other words, America, the great Satan. And this is what we're bringing into the United States? Seriously? Now, but hold on. No. Whoa. It's not just America evil. You know who else is evil? Come on. Let's go. Roll cut 43. Mike.
In this moment of celebrating who we are, I want to celebrate CUNY Law as one of the few, if not the only law school, to make a public statement defending the right of its students to organize and speak out against Israeli settler colonialism.
Whoa. And now, here's one more. Roll cut 44. Mike.
That as Israel continues to indiscriminately rain bullets and bombs on worshipers, murdering the old, the young, attacking even funerals and graveyards, as it encourages lynch mobs to target Palestinian homes and businesses, as it imprisons its children, as it continues its project of settler colonialism, expelling Palestinians from their homes, carrying the ongoing Nakba, that our silence is no longer acceptable.
Carrying on the ongoing Nakba, which is the extermination of the Palestinians. All she missed saying was death to Israel. Like, that's it. Death to Israel and jihad. That's it. Then they would have been complete. And I'm sure then there would have been a standing ovation. Then death to the Jews! Death to the Jews! Holy mackerel. This is what we're bringing into the United States of America? This is the thanks that we get? Send her back. I don't give a damn. Send her back. You know what? No. Hey, you're right. Listen. Hey, Fatima, Musa, Mohammed, you're right. We're racist. We're evil. We're oppressive. We're a ravenous empire. We're neo-Nazi. We're scum. We're the worst. You're so freaking oppressed here. What we've done to you in this country. You know what? We're revoking your citizenship. We're doing you a favor. And we're sending you back to the Muslim motherland. You can go back to Yemen now. We're going to send you back to Yemen, okay? Because it's so much better there. She should be utterly ashamed of herself. And those woke clowns cheering and whistling in the audience should be ashamed of themselves. For them to deliver and cheer this brazenly anti-American, anti-Israel, anti-Semitic speech. And you wonder why our universities are such hotbeds of radicalism? And you wonder why the country's in the trouble that we're in right now? Look at the freaking ingrates we're bringing into our country. That's what I would say to her. You effing ingrate. We save you from a life of real oppression and misery, especially as a woman in that part of the world. And this is the thanks that we get? This is literally a speech that could have been delivered by one of the mullahs in Tehran. Hamas could not have delivered a better speech than this. Islamic terrorist groups must be clapping, saying, "Oh, Abdullah, look at this. Look at this. We have a new star in the movement. Yeah, death to Israel, death to America. That's why you vet people who come in. And you only allow people to come into this country who want to be Americans, who are proud to be Americans, who want to assimilate, not people who hate this country to its very core. My friends, I'm telling you, migrants like her, we don't need. Agree, disagree, 617-266-6868 is the number. Annie in Chelsea. Thanks for holding, Annie, and welcome. Hello, Annie. Did we lose Annie? Let's see if we can reconnect with Annie. Dave in Marshfield. Thanks for holding, Dave, and welcome.
Hi. Jeff, I agree with Donald Trump 100%. And also, I lost my train of thought. Jeff, all the illegals that are coming in, what about the days when an illegal woman or a guy came into the country and got married to an American citizen, and then back then, as soon as they get married to an American citizen, they automatically become a citizen. What happened to that? Is that still legal going on?
Well, but it takes a while now. If you marry an American, you have to wait. I think it's a year or a year and a half. It's called the marriage visa. And then you get a green card, and then eventually you get citizenship. But it's nowhere near as automatic as it used to be. No, Dave, I think you really put your finger on it. What happened to the days when people would come to the United States? Look, of course you're free to criticize the country. You have freedom of speech. No country is perfect. There's no question about it. But for God's sakes, have some basic humility and gratitude. You came here. You fled a situation that was much worse. And you've been given opportunities, freedoms, a standard of living that most people around the world, it's the envy of the world. And instead, you're graduating from a law program at the City University of New York. The woman is going to be a lawyer. She's probably going to make a really good income. I'll tell you this, she's going to be a hell of a lot richer than 99% of the population in Yemen. I guarantee you that. And we're white supremacist evil scum? We're an evil empire? A ravenous, destructive empire that oppresses everybody in America and everybody around the world? This is what we get for saving this woman from a life of absolute real oppression and misery? Her genitals would have been mutilated at the age of 9 in Yemen had she stayed. She would have been lucky to get an elementary school education. And instead, she comes here and spits in our face like this. Dave, the immigrants that we used to bring in, the migrants, were a lot better quality than this. Dave, look, my parents were grateful for everything Canada gave them. Everything. To their dying breath. They wouldn't dream of saying anything about Canada what this woman said in that speech. And the worst of it is the dumb students, all of them cheering her on. Dave, think about this. If these are the future lawyers of the United States, Dave, my advice is don't get a lawyer. Don't get a lawyer.
You're right, Jeff. Jeff, not to throw anything off gangbangers. And they're coming in like crazy. Thank you, Joe Biden, for letting them all fly in and bust them.
Oh, you're dead on. Well, Dave, as usual, you're dead on. Dave, thank you very much for that call. Look, I wanted to touch on this. There were the Marines that were attacked in San Clemente in California by these roving gangs of thugs here in Revere. We have a national audience, so I have to explain this. Revere is about what, maybe 5-6 miles out of Boston, give or take. So Revere, little city, named after Paul Revere, it has a nice beach. And Memorial Day weekend, they love, people love to go hit the beach. And I don't blame them, especially families and kids. Illegal immigrants all across Boston love to congregate now at Revere Beach, especially on Memorial Day weekend. Fights broke out on the beach. 20, you got to see the video footage. It's unbelievable. It's like you're in a third world banana republic. 20, 30, 40, 50 of them. Fists flying, gangs fighting. Someone pulled out a gun, shot a 17-year-old girl. An hour later, somebody else pulls out another gun, shoots a 51-year-old woman in the legs, grazes another 17-year-old right by the head. And the Massachusetts State Police had to issue a statement saying that what they witnessed was, quote, disgusting and vile. That they can't believe the level of violence that is now out of control right on the outskirts of Boston. That poor, good, decent families, law-abiding families, cannot go to Revere Beach anymore with their kids and just simply enjoy a day in the sun, the sand, the water, and Memorial Day. Because they're being terrorized by these roving gangs of thugs. Most of them illegals. This is in Boston. It's in San Clemente, California, where, 40 of these teenagers, many of them illegals, literally beat 3 Marines to a pulp. A sport, because one of them, they're flying off fireworks, and one of the Marines got hit with one of the fireworks, and they were harassing all the other families, and one of the Marines said politely, "Can you please stop?" And so all of them just descended upon the Marines and beat them to a pulp, punching them, kicking them, stomping them. This is what Biden is bringing to the United States. You import the third world, you become the third world. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, President Trump now says if he wins a second term, he will end what's called birthright citizenship, automatic citizenship, for the babies that are born, the children that are born from the parents of illegal immigrants after they come into our country, saying it's being abused. It's now a magnet for millions and millions of illegals to come in. These people should not be given citizenship and rewarded for breaking our laws, violating our sovereignty, and trespassing and entering our country illegally. You want to see what it gets you? This is in San Clemente in California. It's near a military base, Marines, and Camp Pendleton, I believe. And the 3 Marines, Friday, about to enter the Memorial Day weekend, walking on the beach, minding their own business. They're just there for a weekend to rest and relax. And there's a group of teens, many of them illegals, blasting off fireworks, harassing, taunting, insulting families who are there, parents, children, making an absolute public nuisance of themselves. One of the fireworks accidentally hits one of the Marines in the head. To all witnesses that were there, the Marine politely said, "Can you please take the fireworks elsewhere? It's distracting us. It's distracting families. It has no business being on the beach." Before you knew it, a mob of 40 to 50 out of control gangbangers, teenagers, as I said, many of them illegals, descended upon the Marines. Memorial Day weekend. Thank you for your service. Punched them, kicked them, stomped them. 2 of them were on the ground, and they were getting viciously beaten. Blow after blow after blow. Roll cut 60, Mike. Keep going. That's what you're hearing about. Keep going. Keep going. Another one's yelling, kick him in the head, kick him in the head, kick him in the head. So one Marine in particular was getting stomped on the head repeatedly. That Marine now has a serious concussion. They're lucky they left alive. They were beaten black and blue to a pulp. To a pulp. So Revere wasn't quite as bad. I mean, people were shot in Revere, but this was a raging mob, almost beating with their hands and with their fists, with their feet, almost beating 3 Marines to death. Look at the diversity, huh? Look at diversity's our strength. Look at this. Boy, can you see the diversity? Can you see how this is making us such a better country. To look at the diversity. These are the dreamers. Come on now. These are the greatest Americans we've ever seen. Trump is 1,000% correct. It's time to slam that border shut and start deporting these illegals and end birthright citizenship once and for all. 617-266-6868, because I'll tell you this, the world, these illegals, they're not sending us their best. Believe me, we're not getting their best. Nick in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Nick, and welcome.
Well, I called, just real quickly, that person from Yemen, is she graduating law school or going into law school?
No, she's graduating.
Okay, so what's next for her is, I remember telling you about 1.5 years, 2 years ago, when they were considering, and they did do this, that was get rid of the SATs optionally. Well, the next step, I told you, I think at the time, this will happen in law school as well. You will not have to take the board. She probably did, I assume so, because that was about 4 years ago, but that has already arrived. Your option is to take the law boards to get into a law school, take the graduate record exam, or do nothing. All right. So the next step up, that's already been talked about. They're going to grade and curve.
Oh, Nick, before you go on, I'll tell you what's going to really. She's got a very bright future now in front of her. She's either going to be a Biden will appoint her as a U.S. district judge, or who knows? She may even be the Biden campaign's legal advisor. Oh no, the Dems, the Moonbats, they love her. Nick, she's going to make millions in this country, millions. But please, I don't want to interrupt you. Go ahead, Nick.
We're in this magical bill by the Republicans who talk so much, just like the Democrats when they're running for office in 2022. Where is there any? And they did do an attempt with their April bill this a month ago, for immigration correction reform, whatever. That is going to be debated and soundly be thrown out of the Senate, or what will happen is the cadaver-in-chief will veto it, right? So where in this particular package is, as a leverage factor, is illegal immigration addressed financially. It is a costly figure. Not only do you pay for the immediate services and monies that they need, they get like $3,500 a month. not only do you pay for that initially, you're talking to, if they have children or are going to be breeding children soon, you're talking to educating these kids forever in the public school systems, in the state colleges who want free tuition, et cetera, et cetera. So why is there no mention or direct address of that in this bill? I bet McCarthy didn't even bring anything like that up, and it should be in it. That's the leverage you should have.
Oh, I so agree. Nick, as usual, you hit the nail right on the head. These anchor babies, we educate them, we feed them, we house them, we clothe them. I mean, we take care of them from A to Z. And then they go to law schools and tell us how evil we are. 8:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, so many of you are texting in right now, emailing the Kuhner man. There's no point in just reading the same texts over and over again or similar texts. So what many of you are saying, rightly, best audience in the business, is this woman that gave the graduation, the commencement speech, the speech at the graduation for CUNY Law School, Fatima Musa Mohammed. This could not have been done without the approval of the faculty and the dean. Yes, you're completely right. In fact, the dean is caught on video cheering and clapping every step of the way. So professors and the dean were cheering her on as well as the students as she was ranting and raving about how evil America is, how white supremacist America is, how racist and oppressive America is, and how bad the Jews are. How bad Israel is. I mean, again, these are the so-called quote-unquote migrants we're allowing to come into the United States of America. Like we need this. So what? We're going to import the Intifada? That's what we're going to do now? We need this like we need a hole in the head. And then Sandy, to her credit, made an excellent point to me while we were off air. She goes, Jeff, what about Biden's mobile app? So if you remember, he gave this mobile app to the illegals, to all of them in Central America, Latin America, South America, Africa, Eastern Europe. All you have to do is sign into this app. And by signing into this app, you can just come into the United States. Just come into the United States. And eventually, through the app, I'm not kidding, then they'll set a court date for you. 4, 5, 6, in many cases, 10 years down the road. So they give you a work visa right off the bat. Now, remember, it's anybody. They're just claiming asylum. Doesn't mean they're actual legitimate refugees. So I'll tell you, that's how I would do it. You know, if I'm in, I don't know, Ukraine right now, I'm like, you know, Dmitry, getting bombed every day by the Russians is no fun no more. But America has very good pierogies, excellent vodka, best welfare in the world, my friend. I have cell phone. Dmitry, you have cell phone? Yes? Yes? Okay. Let's apply on the mobile app. Jeff Kuhner, yep, I give my address, 100 Jerky Street in Kiev, Ukraine, and I'm coming to America. Oh, 10 years I have to wait? No problem. So you give me work visa? Good. I get welfare, work under the table, and I never showed up in court. I love this. I just have to have money to get to America. That's it. So let's fly to Mexico, and then we walk across the border. I'm telling you, that's exactly what's happened. 80,000 who have applied through the mobile app, they've lost track. They just lost track of them. They know they're in the country. They don't know who they are. They don't know if they're criminals, rapists, terrorists. What. They don't nothing about their background. Nothing. I swear, nothing. but the mobile app wasn't working the way it was supposed to work, and they just walked in, and now we don't know where they are, who they are, what their intentions are. They're just in. They're just in. Huh? That's how you run a border. That's how you run a country. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, you can also email the Kuhner Man. Jeff, ingrates is the subject heading. As I listened to that self-righteous ingrate giving her speech at CUNY University and going on and on about the evils of colonialism, I started to ask myself, I wonder if she has just as big a bone to pick with the history of Islam and Islamic forces raging across Europe, overthrowing and enslaving country after country, including, by the way, much of the Balkans, where your ancestors come from, Jeff. Jeff, people like her and her ilk only make America ingrate again. Yeah, I'm sure if someone said, hey, Fatima, tell me, I don't know, when the Ottoman Turks poured into, Bulgaria, Romania, Albania, Greece, Serbia, Bosnia, Croatia, when they were on the gates of Vienna, rampaging, murdering, pillaging, colonizing, oppressing, enslaving for 300-400 years. No good. No colonialism there? You okay with that? That was all good? It's all fine? You sure? It's okay? Yeah, that was okay? Tell me, how about what's going on now in the Middle East today? Huh? Tell me, you okay with all this? Huh? You like that? I don't know. You like the fact that Christians are being persecuted and many of them being killed? You like that? That's good? Sharia law? That's good? Good? Yeah, very good, huh? The hypocrisy, the double standards, the willful ignorance, but the hate. That's the part that I don't get. The hate. You could be in Yemen, living a degraded, oppressed, miserable life. Instead, you're in the land of milk and honey, and you can't even say thank you. You don't know? That's impossible. You can't even say thank you. I'm not asking you to say even God bless America. How about just a simple thank you? Instead, we're the evildoers. We're the racists. We're the oppressors. You're oppressed. Out. Out, and take your parents with you. Go right back to Yemen. I'm sorry, but it's time we revive the phrase that was big in the 60s and 70s. America, love it or leave it. For her, leave. And don't let the door hit you on the way out. 617-266-6868. Agree, disagree. Arthur in Chestnut Hill. Thanks for holding, Arthur, and welcome.
Thanks for taking my call, Jeff.
My pleasure, Arthur.
Well, last Wednesday, I believe, Rashid Tlaib held a grouping in the Senate to host a hearing with 9 other anti-Israel groups, and she called it the catastrophe of the founding of Israel. And they had to get the approval of Bernie Sanders to do it, and of course, McCarthy tried to stop it, but he couldn't because it was in the Senate. And I say time and time again to all my Jewish brothers and sisters, how the hell can you be a Democrat today? And how the hell can you hate Donald Trump? I mean, they didn't learn a lesson from the Holocaust. I mean, I did as the son of Holocaust survivors. And also, Monday was Memorial Day. For me, the holiest of days to honor not just veterans, but the veterans who died fighting for freedom in this country. I guess they were a bunch of white supremacists too. I mean, this is the most disgusting thing to hear this time and time again, that we're white supremacists, that you're a white supremacist, that I'm a white supremacist. That's disgusting, it's insulting, and it's not true. Moreover than that, well, these people who are allowed to come into this country, the privilege of coming to America, because I remember as a boy being in Italy, everybody waiting for the dream to come to America, and the fact that you needed a sponsor was a big difference between the type of people who come through the border and the type of people like me and you, because you know the day that you raised your hand to become a citizen was the most emotional day of your life. It's just you can't put it into words, because it happens once, and it only happens to people who do things the right way, the legal way, who come here to contribute to America, to keep America America. But we don't have that anymore. We imported hate. We imported our enemies, and God knows how many of them have gone through the border. And that's their intent. Their intent is not to get more Democratic voters. Their intent was to destroy this country.
Well, you're dead on, Arthur. Sad but true. Definitely, their intent is to subvert, undermine, and eventually destroy us. And with people like her, they're on their way. Arthur, thank you for your call. 8:49 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, Dr. Grace warming up in the bullpen. She's going to be on in about 10 minutes. You are not going to believe what we're going to talk about. Trust me. Trust me, you got to hear it. But first, Tim in South Dennis. Thanks for holding, Tim, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
To that miserable ingrate, she obviously doesn't know much at all about U.S. history. Even before the Civil War, the U.S. Navy had a squadron off the coast of West Africa to stop slave ships. You know, Civil War comes, we lost, some estimates are up to 725,000 people to stop slavery once and for all here. And then when the Ku Klux Klan first version of it came up, who put a stop to that? President Grant with federal troops. Now, as far as the U.S. being out to, raging all these so-called ravage wars, apparently just to do them and to oppress people, it's like, who stopped the Holocaust? I mean, a real genocide, one of the worst in history, U.S. and allied troops. When men with guns, my better half and I were veterans. We visit World War II and Korean War era vets. We met a man, he passed recently, he was 100 years old. He'd been in Dachau. And he said that you can't even imagine what that place was like, the way it looked, the way it smelled. And he said, that's really all I can bring myself to talk about what I saw there. And as far as the Middle East, 40 years ago, 241 of our service people were murdered by Hezbollah. They weren't there to conquer the place. They were there to stop all sides from fighting in what was a brutal civil war in Lebanon. And so who does she think she is to stand up there and talk about what a lousy country the U.S. is? If you don't like it, go to North Korea, go to Cuba. Go to Iran.
Tim, look, you're dead on. Everything is, what you've said is not 100. It's 1,000% accurate about the Civil War, about how we tried to stop the slave trade, basically, during Jefferson's administration, and what we did with Dachau, and how we liberated so many people in the concentration camps, and how we broke the back of Hitler. maybe one of the most evil genocidal dictators. I don't know, it's a debate, him, Stalin, or Mao. But anyway, one of the most evil genocidal dictators in the history of the world. You could go on and on and on. We don't even have to go far that back. Don't go that far back. We don't have to. She comes from Yemen. She's a migrant from Yemen. I'm assuming her parents came in legally. I don't know. Her parents took her and brought her from Yemen. Just look at Yemen. They have slavery in Yemen. Muslims are enslaving fellow Muslims in Yemen. It is one of the poorest, war-torn countries in the world. They're literally starving to death in Yemen. There's a famine. There's mass starvation in Yemen. And this effing ingrate, pardon me, but she really, I mean, to me, it's beyond unacceptable. We're evil? We're racist? We're the problem in the world? If she was still in Yemen, she'd be dead today. If she's alive today, she wouldn't have her genitals. She'd be forced to cover herself from head to toe. Forget law school. She'd barely be able to read or write. She'd be literally begging for food. And I'm sorry, but this is how you pay us back? You go to one of the most prestigious law schools in the state of New York? You've got a lawyer's job waiting for you? And you stand there and you lecture us and you tell us how bad and evil and racist and that she's oppressed. She's oppressed. She's a victim. I'm sorry, man. There's only one answer. Blank off. Like, seriously. Like, deport her ass. No, I'm saying, send her back. No. Hey, no. Hey, we're that bad? No problem. Out. Your U.S. citizenship out. Your U.S. passport out. We're going to take it, go right back to Yemen. Bye. I mean, I'm sorry. We're too generous. We're too kind. We're too welcoming. And people take advantage of us. And now we're being taken advantage of. And it's time we start defending ourselves and standing up for this country. So you want to come, but be freaking grateful. And if you can't be grateful, out. You can criticize. It's a free country. But don't stand there and delegitimize us. Don't stand there and say, we're so evil and so wicked and so... You're oppressed when you're living 1,000,000 times better here than that crap hole country you came from? Come on. We're talking now... I know a lot of people on the text line are blaming the professors. And yes, she's indoctrinated. Yes, she's brainwashed. But she knows where she came from. She didn't forget her childhood. She knew where she came from. Her parents know where she came from. You don't forget something like that. So I don't care how much she was indoctrinated, how left-wing, how crazy her professors were. In the end, you have to know where you were born, where you were raised, where you came from, and how lucky you are to be here. And these are the kind of lawyers we're producing? That's another thing. Notice, their job is to defend their clients. That's how you uphold the rule of law. That's how our system works. Look at them. They think they're there to be social justice warriors. They literally think, no, we're going to be crusading on behalf of woke causes. That's not the kind of lawyer we need. Lawyers like that will destroy the United States of America. Guaranteed. So, Tim, I look at this and I'm like, it's not just one. They're coming wave after wave after wave after wave. No connection, no gratitude, no patriotism, no love for this country whatsoever. In fact, the very opposite. They hate us. So why are we bringing in so many people and paying so much money and putting such a burden on our country when we can't even take care of our own poor? our own homeless, our own vets. And at the end of the day, for all of our sacrifices, they still stand there and spit in our face? No automatic birthright citizenship. Close down that border. Deport every single one of them. Bye-bye.
Veterans off the streets getting the care they need, then talk to me about bringing in illegals and giving them everything. For as long as we have our people who put on a uniform and actually did something for this country, getting the shaft to take it blank off. To all the people coming here with the hand extended, blank off.
Oh, that's the thing. They're all coming in with the hand extended.
Mm-hmm. I haven't done it.
And I got to say this, Tim. No, really, this needs to be said. You know, my father, concentration camp, they had it very, he talked about Dachau. And he wasn't in Dachau, but my grandfather, his father was in something similar. And it was one of the worst concentration camps in Nazi-occupied Europe. And then the communists stuck him in for 3 years. I remember my grandfather, my father, they cleaned their plate. I mean, I took this from them. I always finish my plate. I don't care. I finish my plate. I know how hungry people are in the world. How grateful they were for every morsel of food, for every shirt on their back, for heat in the winter, and so a fan or air conditioning in the summer, or for every little creature comfort, for every freedom, for everything they had. I mean, they were grateful for everything. And for her to experience what she had in Yemen, and they're all coming in here with their hands out. Here, look, in New York, you can look it up. New York Post, New York Sun, the New York Daily News, local media, they've all reported on it. You have illegal aliens who have been shipped in. They crossed the border illegally. They're now in 5-star or 4-star hotels. They're fighting. Fights are breaking out. Drug use, alcohol, parties, gun violence. Many of them are not even eating the food. They're being given beautiful sandwiches, delicious. I'm talking ham sandwiches, turkey sandwiches, chicken salad, tuna salad. I mean, to me, I'm like, I'd eat them. They're great sandwiches. They're throwing them away in the garbage bags, in the trash bins. Because they say it's not, they like hot food for lunch. So they want stuff on a hot plate. I'm not kidding. It's not quite their cuisine. Not according to their dietary tastes. You're throwing out, you claim to be a refugee fleeing a poor third world country, and you're fighting? You're dealing drugs? You've got violence, gang violence, shootings, having sex on the stairs. The hotel staff is disgusted. They want him out. The mayor won't kick him out. I mean, I'm sorry. It turns my stomach. It just turns my stomach. So they come in with their hand out, and they never even say thank you. They're owed it. They're entitled. Like, we owe them. What do we owe you, man? Tim, thank you very much for that call. I really appreciate it. And that's what I'm saying. That's what it is to be an illegal alien. Again, think squatter in your home. Is a squatter in your home grateful? Is someone who invades your home, someone who trespasses into your home, are they grateful? No, they're there to take. They're not there to contribute. Don't let them in. And in the end, I blame us because we're letting them in. And we're letting them in now in historic numbers by the millions. And when Trump says we got to stop this and stop it now, he's the racist. Come on, enough is enough. When are we as a country going to get our self-respect back? 617-266-6868. Okay, joining us now, as she always does at this time, Dr. Grace, putting liberals in their place. Grace Vuoto, former nationally syndicated talk show host, political analyst, political commentator, and I have to say it, or else they want to sue me, she's my better half. Yup, she's my wife. I married up. Grace, how are you?
I'm very well, Jeff. Thank you so much for having me on today.
My pleasure. Okay, what we're now seeing is a rebirth of racism in the United States. I think it's now undeniable. We're now living in a very racist age, but not in the way the moonbats or liberals or progressives or the media want us to think. I want to play two cuts. Let me start with the first one and get your reaction. This is Jane Fonda. Yep, Trader Jane. Listen to her blame white men for the climate change crisis. That's right. Not men, but white men are to blame. Roll cut 49, Mike.
For me, it was learning about the Vietnam War. And when I really understood what that was about, I couldn't do anything except try to join the movement and to stop it.
And that was where it started, because you're pretty active, even after the...
Well, you know, you can take anything, sexism, racism, misogyny, homophobia, whatever, the war, and if you really get into it and study it and learn about it and the history of it and everything's connected. There'd be no climate crisis if it wasn't for racism.
How do you get to that? Tell me.
Where would they put the Where would they put the poison and the pollution? They're not going to put it in Bel Air. They've got to find some place where poor people or indigenous people or people of color are living. Put it there. They can't fight back. And that's why a big part of the climate movement now has to do with climate justice.
White men. I'm responsible, literally. I'm responsible. I'm putting pollution in indigenous areas, where people of color live. White men now are responsible for killing the planet. Dr. Grace, I want to ask you this. Seriously, Grace. You know, I'm reminded of the Nazis, how they blamed the Jews for everything. Let's take away white men. The Jews are to blame for climate change. The Jews are to blame for climate crisis. What's the difference between that and what Jane Fonda is now peddling?
Well, Jeff, you're completely right. This is completely irrational. It's an irrational movement. These are irrational statements. She's a very ignorant woman. But what you're seeing, though, writ large across America with some of these left-wing activists, they despise reason. They despise the intellectual Western heritage of an idea that there's like an objective truth. So they create some categories, and they vilify, they demonize people within those categories. So it becomes an irrational cult. So that's really what she is. She's a cultist. And we have to label her back. This is the politics of suspicion. Because basically, anytime you talk to these people, at the core of what they're saying, there's a suspicion of somebody else. Somebody else is evil. And that suspicion is a bottomless pit. It's not subject to reason. It's not subject to proof. It's not subject to evidence. Climate change is bad, and I'm suspicious of white people, and white men in particular must be to blame. So if you know the emotion of suspicion, you know, if let's say you experience it in your personal life, you know that it's just a bottomless pit. There's no way to talk somebody out of being suspicious. If it's something that's overtaking their mind, it becomes an obsession. And that's what I'm seeing a lot in the left. They're just suspicious of others, in particular of white people. And you just can't talk them out of their suspicion. But what's interesting is this. If you explore Jane Fonda herself, she's got a documentary out where she explains that much of her life she feels that it was meaningless. She was in search of meaning. And so these cults give her meaning. And in particular, when she was asked about her 3 marriages, they were men, right? This is what she said about them. Well, they were brilliant, and they could teach me things and take me farther than I had ever gone. They weren't boring. I didn't have very much confidence, and I thought that if I was with those kinds of men, I could go places. So can you believe that? This is supposed to be one of the great feminist icons, and she really confesses that she chose men that she thought were superior to her. So she has a complex about men. She subordinates herself to them. She's kind of talking to herself. She's working out her own psychosis. And what's astonishing is, why do we give her a platform of importance? What makes this person capable of discussing social issues? She needs a psychologist, Jeff.
Oh, I'm with you. And you're right. She is exhibiting the politics of paranoia. There's no question. But to me, it's the racism now, the hatred for whites that you now see. It's in law schools. It's in academia. It's critical race theory. They're pushing it now in elementary school, middle school. It's in the curriculum. It's in Hollywood. Listen now, and it's in the media. Listen now to Sunny Hostin on The View saying, forget white men. Now white women are to blame. Why? Because so many white women support Trump. Roll cut 36. Mike.
I have a similar theory, and it's borne out when you look at the studies and when you read books like it's a book that came out a long time ago about she owned property as well, meaning white women owned slaves as well. I think that white women in particular, want to protect the patriarchy here because it's to their benefit. Yeah. They want to make sure that their husbands do well. They want to make sure that their sons do well. They want to make sure that their children do well. And they want to make sure that they do well. Most of the women in some of these studies are married white women, and they do fall in line with what their husbands are doing, how their husbands are voting.
So you see, the reason why white women are backing, or many of them are backing Trump, well, it's to support the patriarchy. So you're a white woman, Grace. Newsflash. Apparently now you support the patriarchy, and you're responsible now for so much of the oppression and evil in the world.
Well,
so it's no longer white men.
Right.
It's all whites, men and women.
And she defends female rights, right? She's trying to defend overall. She sees herself as a great defender of feminist principles. She's attacking my intelligence. She's telling me I don't know why I say what I say. Those women in the study, she's citing a report in the Washington Post. There's many women who were interviewed in Pennsylvania, and they're saying, I can't make ends meet. Therefore, I'm going to vote for Trump because I think he was good for the economy. What she's telling those women is they can't think for themselves. So only she can think for them? That is extremely insulting to women. So she's, in the name of defending females, she's really insulting women. And you know, when you think about Jane Fonda, she's attacking white men. Well, who are the greatest purveyors of climate abuse? The Chinese. The Indians, the Indian nation. Those are two great nations that commit tremendous amount of, if we want to talk about the use of fossil fuels, et cetera,
pollution.
And lack of regard for environmental.
You're right. No, the biggest polluters in the world are number one, China, number two, India.
Yeah, so they're not white. So basically, both of these women are completely irrational in what they're saying. And you can tell they know nothing of the Western intellectual heritage. And they should be called out as ignoramuses. They should be shamed for being stupid. We really have to confront it head on. You know nothing of the Western intellectual heritage. You're a completely ignorant human being.
We've been talking with Dr. Grace, putting liberals in their place. Grace Voto. Grace, as usual, dynamite stuff. Thank you so much for coming on the Kuhner Report, and we will definitely talk to you next week.
Hey, Jeff, I'm amazed I can think for myself. Tell Sunny Hostin.
Oh, you evil, wicked woman, you white woman, you. You're responsible for all the evils of the world. Are we now seeing a new anti-white racism. 9:19 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, the voice of the resistance. 617-266-6868 is the number. Let's go to Will in Charlestown. Thanks for holding, Will, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff. Thanks for having me.
My pleasure.
Just want to speak about that ungrateful woman from Yemen.
Yes.
Who's spilling hate speech. I mean, I wonder how much her education was paid by the government with grants and financial assistance. I'm pretty sure she didn't pay for it all herself. And here she is bad-mouthing America and Israel. It's hate speech. If it was a Republican doing that, they'd be all over them.
Will, I'm just curious, what do you make of the fact that her professors were cheering, clapping, the dean was cheering and clapping, the students were whistling? I mean, they loved it. They were cheering, stomping their feet. One time they even gave her a standing ovation. So why is it when you go on about how evil the Jews are and how evil the United States is and how everybody in that room is oppressed? You're right. They're all, it's $40,000 a year, easy. They're all going to be lawyers making six-figure salaries. Yet, Will, they're all victims. It's that mentality, that privileged, entitled, spoiled brat mentality. I just can't wrap my mind around it. And you should see, she's so self-righteous, so arrogant, so full of herself. I mean, she really thinks she's it. And she's going to lecture us. And by the way, CARE is supporting her. CARE is insisting that her speech go viral. They want this speech everywhere. So they're proud of her. And not one liberal that I'm aware of has condemned her or condemned that speech.
It's just beyond me how they can just let these people speak whatever they want, but if conservatives like us say something, we're racist, Jeff. I don't know what this country is coming to.
The double standard is sickening. You're completely right. Will, thank you very much for that call. To me, you just don't let people like that in, period. I'm sorry. I mean, that's the attitude we used to have, and we were a much better country then. Again, America, love it or leave it. Again, it doesn't mean you blindly, agree with everything. Of course not. But there's a way to criticize knowing, I love this country. I want to make it a bit better. I want to improve it. That's fine. That's okay. Of course. But to just stand there the way she did, and the law is white oppression. The system is white oppression. I'm oppressed. You're oppressed. America is oppressing all minorities in this country like a ravenous empire, as she put it, and oppressing everybody around the world. From someone who comes from Yemen and apparently a devout Muslim with all of the crimes of radical Islam? Like what? I'm sorry. Have you not heard of 9/11? Hello? I mean, if I were her, I wouldn't be opening my mouth. But now you know why universities are hotbeds of radical leftism. These are the kinds of people they're turning out. And I'm telling you, in 10 years, they're running the country. I mean, I'm not trying to depress all of you, but I'm just saying these are facts. So they've been indoctrinated with this garbage. And I'm telling you, the Democratic Party is now a Jew-hating party. The anti-Semitism that you see from her and from those students is in much of the Democratic Party. When I look at her, you know what she reminds me of? Ilhan Omar 2.0. Some people did something. She should run for Congress because the Democrats will love her. Paul in Woburn. Thanks for holding, Paul, and welcome.
Hi, Jeff. Thank you for taking my call.
My pleasure.
First-time caller, long-time listener.
Welcome,
Love you,
Paul.
man.
Welcome.
I want to touch on President Trump's announcement. Epic. Beautiful. It's about time. You know, we've been waiting for this a long time, but I think if he wants to extend it even further, take away dual citizenship, I think that should be wiped off the map as well. You come to this country, you become an American, you're an American. You give up where you came from. You can go visit anytime you want. You get a visa like anyone else. But I think that he should extend it even further. Those are my feelings towards his announcement. I think it was fantastic. I'm a Trump supporter all the way. He's done incredible things for our country. The 4 years he was in presidency. I feel our White House is empty right now. It's full of hate. It's full of traitors. It needs to be cleaned. It needs to be wiped. Totally clean. This Omar dingbat, I don't know what, where are her parents? I mean, her parents should be kicking her in the keister and telling her, listen, what we came from, where we came from, you should be grateful where you are today for what you have. It's undeniable how awful this person is. That's treason. And you know, and you've said it many times, if this was the days of old, she wouldn't be standing there. She would be hung or sent back or something. I mean, it is disgusting. It is disgusting where our nation's going right now. But I have faith. I believe in God, the Almighty. Retribution on all these evil people. Absolutely. It will come. Their day will come. And
Paul, great call. I know it's your first time. Please don't be a stranger, Paul. Call again. Really good call. What she was essentially saying is she's telling everyone in the audience, I hate you and your country. I hate America. And they're cheering. Think of that. They're cheering her. 9:31 on the great WRKO. Jeff Kuhner, Boston's Bulldozer. 617-266-6868 is the number. Okay, let me just play her one more time. This is Fatima Musa Mohammed, a migrant from Yemen. Her parents brought her into the United States when she was a child. So she was born and spent many years in Yemen, fleeing. It's a civil war. Yemen is literally one of the poorest, most war-torn countries in the world. They've had several famines. The part of the population is starving. It is in dire straits. Al-Qaeda occupies chunks of the country. Muslim warlords occupy other parts. They're fighting a civil war with the Houthis, backed and the Saudis. So you have Saudi Arabia involved. You have Iran involved. It is a mess. This is how she thanks the United States. She delivered a speech, graduation class, public law, City University of New York. This is the commencement speech. Roll cut 41. Mike.
Like many of you, I chose CUNY School of Law for its articulated mission to be law in the service of human needs. One of very few legal institutions created to recognize that the law is a manifestation of white supremacy that continues to oppress and suppress people in this nation and around the world. We joined this institution to be equipped with the necessary legal skills to protect our communities.
And what is she saying? In essence, your country sucks. Your country is an evil, racist, white supremacist country. Your legal system, your laws, all of it. And they're cheering. Ay, 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 ay. Okay, let me just put one more log on the fire. Paul mentioned something earlier, which is very dear to my heart, that the United States should not have dual citizenship. I will bet you the best steak at your steakhouse of choice that this woman, Fatima Musa Mohammed, and this Yemenis woman and her parents, I bet they still have Yemeni citizenship. I'm almost positive. I bet they even have a Yemenis passport. So, and a lot of people do from many countries. Don't get me wrong. I'm not just singling out Yemen. My point is this. To me, I completely agree with Paul. Many countries around the world say, if you're going to be a citizen of our country, you cannot be a citizen of any other country. Why? Because we want you to be loyal and we want your allegiance to be to us. We don't want dual loyalty or dual allegiance. If you're going to take the benefits of a certain country, live in a certain country, be prosper or have freedoms in a certain country, then I'm sorry, you should put your stake in the ground and give your full loyalty to that country. I agree. I don't like the idea of dual passports or triple passports or dual loyalty or triple loyalty. To me, if you're a citizen of the United States, then you're a citizen of the United States. And as a legal immigrant, you swear to uphold and defend the Constitution of the United States and the republic for which it stands. You make a pledge of allegiance, a pledge of loyalty to America, to the Constitution, to the Bill of Rights, and to the United States. Hopefully, above all else, above all other countries. So, let me throw this on the table. And I know this is a little bit outdated. People don't like to think like this anymore. But is Paul right? I think he is. Is it time to abolish the whole concept of dual citizenship and dual passports? In other words, if you come to America and you become an American citizen and you want all the rights and privileges and benefits that come with it, then you should sever whatever connections you have to the country that you came from. I'm not saying you don't visit family or send them remittances, of course. But in terms of citizenship, passports, you should no longer be a citizen of any other country you came from. Agree, disagree. I want to hear from you. Should we have dual citizenship and dual passports? Or does this lead to dual loyalty? You know where I stand. One passport, one citizenship, one country. Pick one. I don't care which one it is. Pick it and then stay. Tony in Weymouth. Thanks for holding, Tony, and welcome.
Good morning, Jeff, my fellow patriot. I got a little story for you, but I just want to say something first, if I may. And I am with, of course, South Shore Patriots for Trump. We're out on the Front Street overpass in Weymouth every Saturday from 9 to 1. The rallies have been fantastic, by the way. And I just want to say this, that this is no time for anyone in the political arena to be in it for money, power, or themselves. This is about returning the country back to we the people, and that's why we're with Trump 1,000%, because he's the only one that says it. He did it once, and he's going to do it again, bringing the country back to we the people. And I agree with him totally 1,000% on his policy with the illegals. We're under an invasion, and when we don't have borders, we don't have a country. Jeff, one of our rallies, a very, very nice woman came. She came with her Trump flag. She was so enthusiastic, so we loved having her there. She told me a story. 18 years ago, Jeff, she came legally, the word legally, remember, right? And she came here legally 18 years ago from communist China. Jeff, she told me point blank that everything she left back in communist China, okay, right now what's happening in this country reminds her of that. Jeff, I mean, it was just so alarming. I'd love to hear your feedback. It was incredible.
Tony, I've heard that now from many people. People who come from communist China, from communist Cuba, from Venezuela, from either currently communist or ex-communist countries. And they're alarmed, they're frightened, they're petrified, and they're the biggest Trump supporters you'll find on the planet. If they live in Florida, they also back DeSantis big as governor. Many of them of Cuban descent. But what they all say to a man or a woman is we are witnessing here in the United States what we thought we left in our ancestral homeland. We're seeing the indoctrination. We're seeing the brainwashing. We are seeing the demonization of anyone who opposes or dissents from the regime. We're seeing thought control. We're seeing an assault on freedom of speech, freedom of expression. We're seeing the growth of a police state. You just run down issue after issue after issue after issue. And they're like, it's like communism is chasing us. It's like a ghost that just won't die. And look, and I got to tell you, Tony, you go down to Taunton right now. The Clarion Hotel, the local media in Taunton has now reported on this. They are sending in, or they've already sent in, 400 illegal alien families. Families, not individuals, families, into Taunton. And they're now filling up the Clarion Hotel and other hotels in Taunton. They're shipping in illegals, many in the dead of night, and they're putting them now, not just in Boston, but now they're putting them in towns and suburbs and places all across Massachusetts. It's being done deliberately, the way the communists do it, when they bring their people in and they resettle them all across the country. That's the way that's divide and conquer. It's what communists always do. So, what you're seeing now, Taunton is now, illegal aliens are now being put up in hotels in Taunton. And what is that rhino mayor, Shauna O'Connell, doing? She was all in for Chris Doty. Now they're all of them now, rabid anti-Trumpers, never Trumpers. What is she doing about it? Nothing. Nothing. And I'm telling you, it's not just Taunton. You're seeing it on the Cape. You're seeing it everywhere. But you know where you're not seeing it, Tony? Martha's Vineyard. When DeSantis flew those illegals into the vineyard, they deported them out so freaking fast, Tony, people's heads were spinning. They didn't put them up in the bed and breakfasts. They didn't put them up on the hotels or the motels on the vineyard. No. Not for Obama. Not for the hoi polloi. No. Not for, them. 48 hours, they were gone. But in Taunton and in other places, they're staying at the Clarion Hotel, paid for by you and me, my friend. Breakfast, lunch, dinner, you name it, and their kids are going into the local Taunton public schools. The hospital is full, the schools are full, and we're paying for the whole thing, Tony. I mean, have we lost Tony? All right, well, just to everybody out there, Massachusetts is not immune. We're getting our share of illegals, and more are on the way. 617-266-6868. John in New Hampshire. Thanks for holding, John, and welcome.
Thanks for taking my call, Jeff. First-time caller.
Welcome, John.
You and a lot of others had talked about gratitude in regards to this woman from Yemen, and I also wanted to do the same. In particular, I wanted to use your platform to express my 10 out of 10 gratitude towards Kevin McCarthy for fully funding the U.S. Department of Education. Aren't you grateful for that?
So I take it, John, you're not happy with Kevin McCarthy right now.
This is what I don't get about the whole budget talks. It's the same excuse every time, which is, oh, well, Joe Biden wouldn't sign it. And it's like, why does that matter? So you have to give, this is, according to the Constitution, your power. Use it. If Biden doesn't want to sign the budget and he wants to shut down the government so all the Democrat voters can no longer get their gibs from the government, that's his problem, not yours.
I agree. John, amen, brother. I completely agree. John, there's about at least 30 Republicans and counting who will not support this debt ceiling deal, each for different reasons, but it doesn't matter. They don't want to sign it. They don't want to, they're not going to vote yes. They're not going to support it. And now there's growing talk that they may force a vote of non-confidence and oust McCarthy as House Speaker, that apparently now his job may be on the line. Do you think it's time for McCarthy to go and to get a new or a different House Speaker?
A week ago, I was actually surprised at how well Kevin McCarthy was doing, but, I guess I'm the sucker for thinking that, all of a sudden the Republicans are going to keep their promises. I got to get rid of him, somebody who's willing to fight for, the basics. I don't want to hear, imagine if the situation were reversed, or this isn't a hill to die on, or Joe Biden wouldn't sign it. It's so pathetic. I can't get over the cowardice in Washington.
Well, John, look, I think you summed up, frankly, my feelings and the feelings of most people in this audience. There's just no fight. Just fight, man. Fight. Care, fight, stand up, do something, push back. You're completely right. Okay, you want to default? Go ahead. But go ahead. The checks aren't going to go out to to your base, to your voters. If you want that on your head, Joe, go ahead, Joey. It's your funeral. I get it. You have to compromise in life. I get it. But compromise means we get something two ways. It's always 100 or 99.9% one way, and we get crumbs off the table. No, it's not good enough. John, is there anybody you have in mind that you think would be a really formidable Speaker of the House?
Marjorie Taylor Greene, I guess, would be, or maybe Thomas Massey. I think, actually, let me go with Thomas Massey.
I like them both, but yeah, I'll take Massey. Massey's a great pick. Thank you very much, John. Really good call. 617-266-6868. Scott in Revere. Thanks for holding, Scott, and welcome.
Jeff, I love you in a non-sexual way, my friend.
Thank you, my friend. What's on your mind, Scott?
And just a couple things. Going national. I congratulate you and your staff. Fantastic. God bless you. And I congratulate the new incoming Kuhner country. It's a great show. It's fair and balanced. Jeff tells you facts and nothing else.
Thank you.
That's how this show goes.
God bless you. Thank you, Scott.
Now I live in Revere, and real quick, I'll touch on this. I live in Revere, and that's the first fight of the summer. These illegals come down there with their cars, and I'm talking, Jeff, these aren't cheap cars. They're souped up cars. They come in by the hundreds, and they sit there, and there's a fight every weekend. You can sit down there and watch Brawls of Us every weekend down there. It used to be a family beach. Now it's a fighting circle. Kelly's left there. Now, when you think of Kelly's, not Revere Beach no more. It's up here in Danvers. That's the Kelly I'm thinking. You know what I mean? It's ridiculous. And again, the ungratefulness of these people just never cease to amaze me.
Scott, I meant to cut you off. I promise I'll give you all the time you need. Scott, what I'm hearing from media reports, the police, law enforcement, a lot of these are illegals and they're gang members. Because a lot of the illegals coming into our country are, they're parts of these gangs. So you've got these gangs meeting at Revere Beach, and I don't know if it's a turf war or whatever it is, but you're right. They start tearing into each other. Is that what you're seeing as well, Scott? Are these mostly gangbangers and illegals?
Oh, absolutely. Absolutely. It's only been the last 2 years. It's every weekend they fight. Every weekend. It's like, what are they going to fight now? Well, how big is the fight going to be? And it's not going to stop. You can go down every weekend and the same thing will happen. But I'm more angry at the Republicans that just don't want to do anything. I just, come on, there's so much that Biden has changed and screwed up. But you can't pick one and get anything done? That's just insane. And McCarthy he should not be the leader no more. If they gave him his chance, he blew it.
Scott, you hit the nail right on the head. Thank you very much for that call. Look, we're going to talk about this more tomorrow. I promise. They got a big vote to try to get that debt ceiling deal rammed through. He's bleeding Republican support. If he continues to bleed even more support, it may even trigger, whether he likes it or not, it may trigger a leadership challenge. And if that happens, I don't think McCarthy can survive. So the rebels have now come out, the famous 20 rebels, saying we will not vote for him again. He made promises to us. He's now broken some of these promises. So there's now growing pressure on McCarthy to step down. And I'm with John in New Hampshire. I think Massey would be very good. Marjorie Taylor Greene, Boebert, Gates, there's many. But McCarthy had his chance, and you're right, Scott, he blew it. Where did the time go, huh? It just flew by. I gotta go. Bye-bye.